Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Part 230 based on novel. So let's start. It was common for the commander and the military supervisor from any country and any point in time in history to share conflicting opinions. After all, there was a reason why military supervisors existed. Zhongli Wu was naturally not the military supervisor who Xu Tianran wanted to send over. However, the Holy Ghost Church was simply too powerful, so he had no choice but to do so. The Holy Ghost had long been trying to create a bigger presence within the Sun Moon Empire's army. However, the effects of their participation had never gone particularly well. After all, evil soul masters were often ostracized by most people, regardless of whether they were soul masters or soul engineers. After watching Zhongli Wu leave the tent, Ju Zi squinted as she crossed her arms in front of her chest. These annoying evil soul masters. With them around, it will be very difficult for me to execute my plan perfectly. If there's a chance. Their use for the Holy Ghost Church had been diminishing for a while. After the body sect had been completely destroyed, the only use for the Holy Ghost Church was to fight against the powerful cultivators from Shrek Academy. If not for the existence of two ultimate Dolor within the Holy Ghost Church, Xu Tianran would have long since employed a method to force them to surrender to him. When it came to dealing with the Holy Ghost Church, both Ju Zi and Xu Tianran had the same ideas. This sect, which was full of evil soul masters, was bound to create trouble for them in the future. Once the Sun Moon Empire conquered the entire continent, the Holy Ghost Church would definitely think of a way to wrest the throne for themselves. With regards to how exactly they would do it, both Xu Tianran and Ju Zi were certain that those mysterious evil soul masters must have their own ways to achieve that. Knowing how her son would become the future ruler of the entire continent, Ju Zi was determined to not let the Holy Ghost Church succeed in their scheme. However, the thought of her son made Ju Zi's body tremble as the harsh look in her eyes became gentler. Before she left Radiant City, she had gotten the help of an extremely powerful individual within the Sun Moon Empire to protect her son. She was not afraid that an external enemy would target her son. On the contrary, she was worried about the Holy Ghost Church. Now, she was most afraid that the Holy Ghost Church would take action against her son, Xu Yunhan. That would truly be horrifying. The actual battle on the battlefield must end as soon as possible. It was only after the war had ended that she could finally return to Radiant City and make her next move. A faint cold look appeared in Ju Zi's pupils. The task which she was about to embark on was not just about conquering the entire continent. Besides, there was no need to rush the process. Within the Tang sect in Shrek City, Hui Yuhao's spiritual soul core vibrated intensely as it continued to radiate powerful spiritual fluctuations from within his body. His eye of destiny had somehow opened itself without him even knowing about it. The light from the spiritual soul core sparkled within the dark room. However, it never stopped vibrating and trembling in an unstable manner. Hui Yuhao looked more determined than ever. The fluid-like spiritual power that Elder Mu had left for him to control the spiritual soul core had already disappeared. After absorbing that spiritual power, his spiritual soul core had become a lot stronger. At the same time, it had also bought precious time for Hui Yuhao. Now, the ultimate ice soul core at his chest area had become a lot stronger and larger as well. The speed at which it was rotating was no longer observable by the human eye. Hui Yuhao didn't know exactly how much longer he persevered with Elder Mu's help, but he had witnessed the ultimate ice soul core at his chest area grow more than 3 times its original size in this amount of time. Even though the ultimate ice soul core had yet to take on a shape, it was no longer as fragile and feeble as before. It had become a lot stronger, and seemed to be as solid as an ice crystal. The effects of its rotation speed on his spiritual soul core were also becoming greater. The mutual collision between the two soul cores caused Hui Yuhao to tremble uncontrollably. Once again, the Snow Empress and Ice Empress showcased their abilities. In fact, they had been going about their tasks in an extremely stable manner. Under the effects of the dragon pill, Hui Yuhao's body had become a lot stronger. He was at the very least able to persevere till now. Even though the Star Anise was not making any moves, Little Bai had been supporting Hui Yuhao by using his power to fortify his passageways and internal organs. Li Wei had taken a break after Elder Mu's spiritual power had fused into Hui Yuhao's body. Now, she was getting ready to lend a hand when necessary. Right now, the yin-yang complement technique was at a stage where it was already too late to back out. Hui Yuhao was clear that if he were to fail now, he would not only be sustaining injuries. This was because the ultimate ice ball of energy at his chest area had already become considerably strong. It had already absorbed close to 30% of his soul power. Even though this amount of soul power was still insufficient to form a soul core, the compressed extreme energy was still able to blow his dragon blood-enhanced body to pieces if it were to explode. He stabilized his focus and continued his current state. After all the tribulations he had gone through, Hui Yuhao was able to keep himself calm and focused during times like this. If he were to still fail even with the help of his 6 spirits and Elder Mu, there was little chance that he could succeed in the future. Hence, he had to persevere and push on no matter what. He only had one shot at this. Right now, his spiritual soul core was rotating in a furious manner. It was apparent that the spiritual power that Elder Mu had injected into his head was only able to temporarily delay it. At the same time, it had nourished the spiritual soul core and made it a lot stronger. The energy that the spiritual soul core was radiating now was becoming a lot stronger. It was attacking Hui Yuhao's determination like waves hitting the shore. The spiritual power that was released by the spiritual soul core under Hui Yuhao's control would immediately be torn up by the ultimate ice soul core whenever it got close to it. The spiritual soul core would then have no choice but to gather the torn bits and reabsorb them. Hence, the spiritual soul core was becoming increasingly enraged. How could it sit and wait as someone attempted to snatch its territory? The temperature in the laboratory started to dip as the star anise mysterious ice grass crept out of Hui Yuhao's body silently. Its icy blue leaves radiated a gentle glow, which seemed to be dissipating its energy. Star anise icy coagulation. The star anise mysterious ice grass was rapidly absorbing the ultimate ice aura in the air before it transferred it back into Hui Yuhao's body. The energy was then passed over to the Snow Empress for her to replenish her expended energy. Hui Yuhao was unable to sense all of this because all of his attention had already been invested in his spiritual soul core. After an unknown amount of time had passed, the intense pain which came from the spiritual soul core's mindless ravaging pushed Hui Yuhao to his limits once again. His body, which had been nourished and enhanced by the dragon pill, was showing signs of tearing up again. Even though Li Wei had already jumped in to help him, she was no longer able to restrain the spiritual soul core, which was practically going insane by now. She could only help to slightly stabilize the energy within it. Suddenly, an icy blue current moved upwards. The Snow Empress ice crystal had finally moved once again. It was heading upwards again. The Snow Empress spiritual aura was as cold and tough as Hui Yuhao's sigh of the Snow Goddess. It instantly pierced Hui Yuhao's spiritual soul core without any difficulty. It was as if the soul core had a bucket of ice water poured on it, and it paused momentarily. Following which, the ice crystal which was formed by the Snow Empress suddenly exploded to form streaks of energy which gushed towards the rapidly rotating ball of ultimate ice soul power. Snow Empress. Even though Hui Yuhao was in an unbelievable amount of pain, he could still sense what the Snow Empress had done for him. Although he did not know what kind of harm the Snow Empress had inflicted upon herself, he was still able to sense her determination to help him at all costs. Snow Empress. The ball of ultimate ice energy which was at his chest started to vibrate with an unprecedented intensity before huge amounts of energy spurted out of it like a geyser. Hui Yuhao felt his chest contract rapidly as the spiritual power which was swarming towards his chest disintegrated instantly. The pain he had been withstanding also disappeared temporarily. The ultimate ice energy that was released from the ice crystal's explosion was very pure. It was like ice belts which latched themselves onto the ball of ultimate ice energy. Instead of slowing down, the ball of ultimate ice energy was somehow able to rotate faster after the ice belts attached themselves to it. During its rapid rotation, the ball of ultimate ice energy was constantly emitting a loud humming sound. The ultimate ice energy within the ball was being heavily compressed at an insane speed as a powerful sensation was released from Hui Yuhao's chest to his surroundings. The ball of ultimate ice energy was actually able to expand itself to 10 times its original size in a couple of seconds. Just when it was about to take up Hui Yuhao's entire chest cavity, it suddenly contracted to its original size, as though it was compressed by a mysterious force. The color of the soul core had also changed along with the series of strange transformations. It had become dark blue. One could also notice a patch of darkness surrounding the crystal-clear dark blue ball of energy. Soul core? Is this how it's supposed to look like? At the very least, it looks like a soul core that has begun to take shape. Hui Yuhao was startled by the sight before him. Based on his estimations, he should have required thrice as much as time as it had taken, and an enormous amount of ultimate ice energy, to reach the current state of his soul core. However, the Snow Emperor's sudden intervention seemed to have allowed the soul core to directly take shape. The rapid transformation was no longer just awe-inspiring, it was simply miraculous. Snow Empress, what exactly did you do? The spiritual soul core launched an attack once again after being temporarily stunned by the Snow Empress' spiritual shock. This time around, Hui Yuhao was not able to completely block the unparalleled spiritual power that was going straight for the ultimate ice soul core, which had just taken shape in Hui Yuhao's chest. The intense spiritual power fluctuation seemed to illustrate the murderous intent that his spiritual soul core had towards his ultimate ice soul core. However, Hui Yuhao did not sense any pain at this instant. Instead, he felt a mysterious cooling sensation in his chest. Just when the crazy spiritual power was about to collide with the ultimate ice soul core, a powerful intent infused with ultimate ice energy suddenly surged out and froze the spiritual power instantly. Yes, it had just frozen the spiritual power. Spiritual power can actually be frozen? Hui Yuhao was utterly shocked by what he had just witnessed. Streaks of ultimate ice energy ascended like sashes as they streamed towards the spiritual soul core. It seemed like they were planning to retaliate against the spiritual soul core. What Hui Yuhao could not see was how the star anise mysterious ice grass was already trembling intensely as it tried to release its star anise icy coagulation with the maximum possible power. Its every single leaf had become transparent as it tried to devour every single bit of ice-type elemental energy within the room. During this process, strong gusts of icy wind started to blow within the room. Little Bai's protection over Hui Yuhao's body had also suddenly stopped. Countless tiny balls of white energy were surging towards Hui Yuhao's ultimate ice soul core and fusing with it under its control. The Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion's torso bone was also releasing jade-green fluid towards the ultimate ice soul core under the Ice Empress control. In my name, Spirit of the Ice Sky Snow Lady, fuse! Boom! Hui Yuhao's entire body started to tremble. He felt as if his chest and entire body had exploded at this instant, rendering him incapable of thinking. His entire intent and consciousness seemed to be ravaged by a mysterious force. Along with his spiritual soul core, his mind went completely blank. In the slaughtering grounds within the core region of the Great Star Doe Forest, the Lake of Life was so still that it resembled a gigantic emerald gem. It was surrounded by plants that were full of vitality. One could sense the life energy that the Lake of Life was emitting by simply breathing the air around it. Unfortunately, this was forbidden ground for all living things which possessed power. Boom! An intense explosion interrupted Mother Nature's peace and serenity. A black figure rose from the center of the Lake of Life, sending water splashing everywhere. The lake water was immediately transformed into mist, which encircled the black figure before being absorbed by him. Following which, the black figure continued to float in mid-air. His long hair drooped down by the sides of his face, while his pitch-black pupils radiated a golden glow. However, the depths of his pupils revealed how he was currently shocked beyond belief. What's going on? Why can't I sense his existence anymore? The handsome man muttered to himself. As the world's strongest individual and the champion amongst the 10 great savage beasts, Di Qian had always been extremely confident in his abilities. No matter how strong humans were able to become, no one could ever move him from his title as the world's strongest individual. Di Qian floated towards the side of the lake as he began to think about the different possibilities. He moved his right hand in the air in a mysterious parabolic manner as a black rune instantly appeared in mid-air. A black fog permeated the air as the golden glow in Di Qian's eyes flickered. However, a worried expression suddenly formed on his face in the next instant. Yes, I can't seem to sense him anymore. I wonder why? Something extremely important must have happened in order to rouse him from his sleep. And this matter must concern the future of the entire Great Star Doe Forest. His aura has disappeared. He was clearly able to sense Hui Yuhao's aura just a while ago. However, Hui Yuhao, who possessed his reverse scale, had seemed to suddenly vanish without a trace. In his eyes, the only possible explanation for this was death. However, he knew that his reverse scale was not only able to monitor Hui Yuhao, but also protect him at the same time. The moment he was in any danger, his reverse scale would immediately inform him. And as the beast god, he would definitely be able to rescue Hui Yuhao at that instant. Even though Di Qian admired Hui Yuhao for creating the spirit pagoda and temporarily alleviating the conflict between humans and soul beasts, Hui Yuhao was ultimately a human who had the potential to be used in his eyes. He could not afford to allow him to die, because Hui Yuhao's body contained the power of destiny, which had belonged to the three-eyed golden lion. As long as he was alive, the power of destiny would continue to keep watch over the Great Star Doe Forest. Even though it would not be as strong as when the three-eyed golden lion was still around, it was still of great use. At the same time, he could not allow Hui Yuhao to become too strong. He was a human who was incredibly gifted. If he were to become a god one day, the Great Star Doe Forest would also lose the protection of the power of destiny. Hence, Di Qian had been keeping a close eye on Hui Yuhao's transformations and growth. Once Hui Yuhao was capable of attracting the attention of the god realm, he would seal off his power without any hesitation to stop him from communicating with the god realm. He would not even care about what Hui Yuhao's opinions were. There is a limit to how strong a human can become. I am already at the limits of mortality in this world. This is no way a human can defeat me. However, it was under these circumstances that Hui Yuhao's aura had suddenly vanished. Di Qian had no answer to this phenomenon. Di Qian was extremely confident in his reverse scale. After all, it was not just any normal scale. It could essentially act as a clone. With the help of his reverse scale, he could accurately pinpoint where Hui Yuhao was, and use his mastery of spatial laws to transport portions of his energy to that location. However, he was not only unable to sense Hui Yuhao's presence, but also the aura of his own reverse scale. How could he not be surprised? If he were unable to sense the existence of his own reverse scale, he would naturally be unable to transfer his powers and check on Hui Yuhao's situation. Something is wrong. There must be a problem somewhere. Di Qian squinted. He must not allow the power of destiny to escape from his grasp. There must be something going on at Hui Yuhao's side. He must have used some ability to temporarily cut off the connection between and my reverse scale. This ability must be the reason why I can't sense him. There must be a reason why he's trying to cut off this connection. I must find out what's going on. There's no way I can let this continue without knowing what's happening. His last known location was Shrek City. Worst comes to worst, I will break his arms and legs and keep him with me in the Great Star Doe Forest forever. I will then figure out a way to extend his life. Even though the power of destiny might experience some problems, that's still better than losing it entirely. As Di Qian took a step forward, he suddenly vanished into thin air. When he reappeared again, he was already 1,000 meters in the air. His figure flickered once again as the sky tore open to reveal a gaping hole. He stepped into the hole before the hole sealed up. Once again, the powerful beast god had disappeared. Shrek City was already very close to the Great Star Doe Forest after its expansion. After a minute had passed, Di Qian's black figure reappeared in midair as he triggered Shrek City's deafening alarm system. The soul tools from Tang Sect and the Shrek Academy's Soul Tool Hall had been developing rapidly. They now possessed aerial surveillance soul tools both on the ground and in the air. However, compared to the Sun Moon Empire, they were still lacking quite a bit in both the quantity and quality of their soul tools. The surveillance soul tools within Shrek City were immediately able to pick up the presence of an individual in the sky. Multiple soul tools from the ground and the city walls instantly locked their weapons onto the black-colored figure. Seeing how there was only one intruder, 10 soul engineers from the city defense army leapt into the sky as they tried to chase the black figure down. Humph! A cold grunt echoed in the air as the entire sky appeared to tremble at that instant. The 10 figures which had just started to ascend into the sky immediately felt a frightening force pressing onto them from the sky. They were actually forced back to the ground by this mysterious force. Because they were falling from a relatively high altitude, quite a few of them were injured by the fall. Get Huoyu Hao to come out. I have a few questions for him. Di Qian put his hands behind his back as he floated in mid-air. He did not seem to show any care or concern for Shrek City's defense system. The sound of the alarm system suddenly changed from its previous piercing sound into a rapid wailing sound. This was a sign that a powerful enemy had intruded into the Academy's compound. A couple of figures ascended into the sky from above Shrek Academy. The one who was leading them was none other than Yang Xiaoshe, the Dean of the Martial Soul Department within Shrek Academy. Yang Xiaoshe was accompanied by Xian Lina, Qian Duo, Cai Maya, and Zhong Leshuan. When they saw the beast god floating in mid-air, a worried look appeared on all their faces. This was not an entity they could afford to offend. Previously, Elder Xian and Elder Mu were only able to seal him for a short period of time after linking their powers. He only left after being persuaded by Huoyu Hao. If not, Shrek City could have been in serious danger back then. Beast God, it has been a while since we last met. How have you been doing? May I know why you have visited Shrek Academy? Yang Xiaoshe used his hands to make a splitting motion as white intense flames appeared before transforming into 2 gigantic wings which tore apart the pressure that was pervading the air. Following which, he brought the group of people with him up into the air until they reached the same altitude as Di Qian. Di Qian's eyes widened in disbelief as he exclaimed, Yang Xiaoshe, you have improved very quickly. The current dean of the Martial Soul Department's cultivation was already close to Elder Xian's before he had become an ultimate Dolor. Even though he had not officially reached rank 98, he was on the brink of doing so. Di Qian had not expected a transcendent Dolor to improve his cultivation so rapidly. Yang Xiaoshe's own martial soul was a top-tier martial soul. Coupled with the assistance of the Qiankun fortune pills, Yang Xiaoshe was able to improve his cultivation very rapidly. In a few months' time, he would be able to reach rank 98. As for whether he could eventually reach rank 99, it would depend on his luck and his ability to understand and draw insights from the universe. Even so, his current ability had already surpassed Elder Song. He had become the #1 soul master within Shrek Academy other than Elder Xian. Even though Elder Xian had already cultivated at rank 98 for an extended period of time, he was ultimately an agility-type soul master. There would still be a gap between him and Yang Xiaoshe when it came to the power of their martial souls. I am embarrassed by your lavish praises, Beast God. Compared to you, I am really nothing. There must be a reason for you to grace our academy in such a domineering manner. Unless you are here to help us defend against our enemies. As he spoke, Yang Xiaoshe pointed outside of the city. Di Qian was actually stumped by his proposition. He could not help but turn his head to take a look at what was happening outside the city. Even though the Sun Moon Empire's army was more than 50 kilometers away, Di Qian was naturally able to see them clearly with the eyesight that he had. His pupils rapidly contracted as he sensed danger from among the troops. This meant that someone in the camp possessed a power which could threaten him. I am not here to help you. All of you will have to resolve your human problems by yourselves. I am here to look for Huoyu Hao. Let him out. I have questions for him, Di Qian answered coldly. He would not be duped that easily. In fact, he did not have a favorable impression of any human. Yang Xiaoshe seemed a little stunned. Yu Hao? He's back? I didn't know that. He left the academy not too long ago to go to the Sun Moon Empire for a mission, and I haven't seen him since. Xian Lina was standing behind him, and she rolled her eyes. This guy can just spout bullshit so naturally. To think that he's already at rank 97. Bullshit. I clearly felt his aura inside Shrek City. Di Qian's eyes flickered coldly. Don't try to smoke me, Yang Xiaoshe. You have 60 seconds to hand him over. Otherwise, don't blame me for not being polite. And how are you going to be impolite, Beast God? An elderly voice rang out as a beam of yellow light surged into the sky. This formidable aura crushed the pressure that the Di Qian had laid out in the sky. This yellow beam of light arrived in front of Di Qian in the blink of an eye. Eh? Di Qian stared at Elder Xian, who had just appeared in front of him, and he was astonished yet again. He was already surprised at how Yang Xiaozhe had improved, but he wasn't concerned about someone who was only at rank 97. But Elder Xian was different, and he could clearly feel Elder Xian's second soul core. That wasn't something that just any living being could have. It was a true second soul core, one that reflected an ultimate Doluo's strength. There were many transcendent soul beasts who had several 100,000 years of cultivation, who had the strength to rival a human ultimate Doluo, and their total soul power volume could definitely match up. But their chances of victory in an actual battle against an ultimate Doluo were comparatively low, and the reason was because an ultimate Doluo possessed a second soul core. It was incredibly hard for soul beasts to form their second soul core, since they could only achieve that through the yin-yang complement method. The only two among the 10 great savage beasts who had truly completed their second soul cores were the Beast God and the Evil-Eye Tyrant King. That was the reason why the Evil-Eye Tyrant King had dared to challenge him back then. Of course, savage beasts would become incredibly powerful after forming their second soul core. Di Qian even believed that all the ultimate Doluo in the world would be no match for him, even if they gathered together. However, Di Qian deeply understood how formidable ultimate Doluos were, even though he had such an opinion. He was strong enough to defeat an ultimate Doluo, but he would also have to pay a price if he wanted to kill that ultimate Doluo. Therefore, he was greatly surprised when he felt that Elder Xian had become an ultimate Doluo. He was clear that Elder Xian had been stuck at rank 98 for many years, and with a human's natural physique, it was almost impossible for him to continue moving forward. And yet, he had done it. Di Qian muttered coldly, "Xianzi, do you really think that you can fight me just because you've become an ultimate Doluo?" Elder Xian stared back coldly. "There is only one way to find out. Shrek and the Great Star Doe Forest have been at peace over the past few years, and we have tried to promote the Spirit Pagoda as much as possible. We have greatly reduced the hunting and killing of soul beasts inside your Great Star Doe Forest throughout the process. I don't know what it is that you want today, but do you really think that you can get away with provoking Shrek like this? Di Qian, if you don't give me an explanation today, we will not let you go in peace." Elder Xian dominated reason, and the first thing he did when he arrived was to seize the initiative. Di Qian's eyes flickered faintly. The truth was that the Great Star Doe Forest and Shrek were actually in a honeymoon period over the past few years. Both sides cooperated well, and there were much fewer deaths inside the Great Star Doe Forest. That was especially so after Hui Yuhao, Bei Bei, Xu Sanxia, Jiang Nan Nan, and the others swore inside that Spirit Pagoda that they would never hurt another soul beast. That made Bai Ji, the Emerald Swan, extremely touched. That also pulled their relationship even closer. This time, he had come forward brashly to ask for Hui Yuhao because the changes he had felt in his body were quite uncalled for and unreasonable. Di Qian didn't really know what to say after Elder Xian chided him fiercely. Peace between both parties was very beneficial. Di Qian wanted to pluck Hui Yuhao from Shrek City, but doing so would undoubtedly affect the peaceful outlook that they had established over the past few years. But how could he let this go if he didn't find Hui Yuhao? He desperately wanted to know what had happened to Hui Yuhao, and the reason why he couldn't even feel his reverse scales aura. "Xianzi, the reason why I'm here today is because there are some things I wish to ask Hui Yuhao. I'm not trying to provoke or antagonize Shrek. Call him out, and I'll leave after asking him a few questions." Di Qian was formidable, but he had his scruples and concerns. His largest one was his kin inside the Great Star Doe Forest, and his tone softened a little. Elder Xian heaved a sigh and said, "Beast God, Yuhao is heavily injured because he had to fight a formidable enemy. He's barely breathing at the moment because he has suffered some kind of powerful attack. If you are really concerned about him, then you should help us fight against this formidable enemy. He's been hurt by a formidable enemy." Di Qian did believe part of what Elder Xian had said. Certain incredibly powerful attacks such as the one he had witnessed from the Death God Doluo's Death God Pagoda could possibly temporarily disable his reverse scale. If that was what had happened, then everything could be explained. Diqian would never help humans resolve their own battles. However, the Great Star Doe Forest could be considered in some sense to be Shrek Academy's ally. The Great Star Doe Forest pretending they didn't know and not showing up was one thing, but Diqian couldn't really say no if he was told in public. Diqian hesitated before he said, Shrek has 10,000 years of foundations. How can Shrek have any problems dealing with such small and weak enemies? We'll talk about all that afterwards. Let me take a look at him first. I will find a way to treat him if his injuries are overly severe. You have to understand that I, too, do not wish him dead. He possesses the three-eyed golden lion's power of destiny after all. Take me to him. Elder Xian cussed in his mind. It's hard to trick him after all because of his experience. Diqian is such a tough nut to crack. How could he take Diqian to see Hui Yu Hao? Elder Xian naturally understood that the beast god's sudden appearance had something to do with Hui Yu Hao breaking through and creating his second soul core. Even though he didn't know how the beast god could sense that, this was the only viable explanation. Diqian's arrival at this time also proved one thing, and that was the fact that Hui Yu Hao was just about to succeed. Elder Xian couldn't let Diqian disturb Hui Yu Hao at such an important time, no matter what. Elder Xian heaved a faint sigh, and he shook his head exasperatedly yet resolutely. I'm afraid I can't do that, beast god. We have already treated Yu Hao's injuries, and he's resting at the moment. Our doctors have specifically instructed that nobody is to disturb him. Why don't we do it this way? You can stay in the academy for now, and I'll take you to him once he's a little better. Eh? The beast god's eyes flickered, as he could tell that something wasn't right. He grunted coldly and said, You're trying to buy time, Xianzi. Get him out here or take me to him. Otherwise, don't blame me for not being polite. I have been alive for several 100,000 years, and I have seen too much of humanity's trickery. You're dreaming if you think you can lie to me. Elder Xian's expression changed as he lowered his voice and said, Beast God, are you trying to violate our pact and antagonize us humans? The beast god's face turned black. He did just want to see Hui Yu Hao's situation, and he didn't want to affect what both parties shared through the Spirit Pagoda. That arrangement was beneficial for the entire Great Star Doe Forest, after all. The beast god hesitated for a moment before he made up his mind. The power of destiny was more important, because that was an important guarantee for his breakthrough during his next bottleneck. Don't make me repeat myself, Xianzi. My patience has its limits. Elder Xian's heart sank as he stared at the beast god's ice-cold eyes. He knew that he no longer had any wiggle room. All right, since you have no sympathy for our situation, then come. You have to defeat me if you wish to disturb Yu Hao's recovery. Diqian's eyes sparkled. He wasn't angry, but his majesty was evident as his flowing black hair drifted in the wind. Are you challenging me? Elder Xian laughed and answered, I haven't found a suitable enemy to test my abilities after becoming an ultimate Dolor. Since the beast god is here today, then I have a perfect opportunity to test how far I am from the continent's most powerful individual. Very well. I won't go overboard. I will leave if you can hold off my onslaught for 1 hour. On the other hand, if you can't, I will not hurt anybody residing in Shrek City, and you'll take me to see Hui Yu Hao. We won't affect our cooperation. Elder Xian's eyes sparkled. We'll talk about that after our fight. He surged higher into the sky as he spoke. Diqian didn't move at all. Black shadows flashed as he reached an even higher altitude, and waited quietly. Yang Shaoxia, Xian Lina, and the others didn't follow them. Instead, they retreated further away. They weren't powerful enough to affect a battle at an ultimate Dolor's level, but watching and gaining revelations from this battle would be beneficial for their future advancement. The two silhouettes continued climbing through the air before they stopped at about 5,000 meters from the ground. Soul rings emerged from Elder Xian's body one after another, and his heavy and solemn aura immediately tainted the entire sky yellow. Diqian hovered proudly in midair and quietly observed Elder Xian's soul power undulations. A contemptuous expression appeared from the corner of his mouth as he said, Xianzi, you still only possess a human's resonant soul core. Even though I don't know how you've managed this, you should understand that you don't have much of a chance against me. Elder Xian grunted coldly and said, how would I know if I don't try? Do give me some pointers, beast god. Elder Xian raised his right hand as he spoke and pushed it towards Di Qian. The heavens trembled vigorously, an intense yellow light condensed into an enormous godly doubt-eye bull more than 1,000 meters tall behind Elder Xian's back. The bull flickered continuously, and it was extremely magnificent. This video will end here.